And welcome back, everyone, to the week of Who Would Win. From Neanderthal_Paul, we have the question of who wins in a fight. Voltron, defender of the universe, versus Godzilla. Godzilla! Voltron is another one of those mechs that exists within, combine big robots to make even bigger robots and pilot them. But he is, composed of 5 different lions that ultimately are used to fight and deal with the planetary level threats or beyond. In terms of his strength levels, it's stated that his power lies somewhere in the high planetary to low star level of power, which is a large level of power. He can move faster than light. He's got immense physical power. It can take a lot of damage. He also has elemental manipulation capabilities thanks to each individual lion, from freezing cold to burning heat. Apparently, plant manipulation is among them, and I believe electric manipulation as well. Not to mention, he also has his plasma sword, which can literally just cut things into nothing. He's piloted by the 5 5 pilots who can operate each individual part of Voltron on its own, but do come together to help control the actual robot itself. Voltron has defeated many individuals. I believe Voltron's even survived things like diffs and black holes before. I survived being near a sun, as he does have star level potential. So he is exceptionally strong. The question just comes down to, and we don't really have to go over much of Godzilla. I think anyone who's a Versus fan knows how powerful Godzilla can be. The question just is more, who's winning more often? Because let's be honest, there are versions of Godzilla that would completely bitch smack Voltron around, but vice versa as well. So right out the gate, let me get the size of Voltron. How big is Voltron? How big is Voltron? And I think it would depend on the era, admittedly, but let's see here now. Voltron stands Legendary Defender series and about 900. The classic Voltron is around 196 feet tall. The Legendary Defender series Voltron, however, is in 2016 is 330 feet tall, so practically doubling it. Well, not practically, but near doubling it. For the sake of giving it and Voltron the best edge we can, because there are far more Godzillas than there are Voltrons. For the sake of, let's max him out to the full 330, which immediately gives him a large size advantage over most versions of Godzilla. How big is Godzilla? And there's actually a great chart. I'm probably gonna end up finding it, looking for it. Oh, here we go. They're all listed. Great, thank you. One of those times that AI is actually very useful. Our original era, Millennium era, Monsterverse. Yep, there we go. Original era Showa era from 54 to 75. He's about 164 feet tall. Very large, but even then, Voltron actually, even the classic version, outmatches him. He is also, by and large, the weakest version of Godzilla we have. He's the Godzilla who, has an arterial bleed, just pops out. It struggles with his era's versions of, like, Ghidorah. Admittedly, Ghidorah, even in the Showa era, is still powerful enough to drain a portion of the energy of the sun to the point where it actually dimmed. He is still a planet destroyer. But still, like, the sheer size advantage from the Defender series Voltron, is basically twice as tall as Godzilla. He would just kick him around. Like, again, if we're using, there's Voltron, Godzilla is literally down there. He kicks him around, stab. He would just make mincemeat of him. His radioactive breath actually wouldn't mean all that much. Now, I'm going to skip Heisei real quick. Actually, no, I won't. I'm just going to go by the eras here, right? So the Heisei era, between 84 and 95, we just finished Godzilla vs. Destroyer recently, because we're going through all the movies, is actually fairly tall. In fact, he was almost taller than the original 2014 version. It was actually one of the tallest versions that exists. But and they don't have Shin Godzilla listed here, which I'm sad to hear, or minus one. I'll have to find some stats on those two in a second. But yeah, so roughly speaking, they're about the same size. Honestly, He's maybe got 2 feet on Godzilla, so that's not going to matter much. What is going to matter much then is the raw physicality, durability, and abilities. Because Voltron is more bipedal, more humanoid, and also just faster, he's going to get more damage on Godzilla than Godzilla gets on him. But Heisei is still not going to go down as easy. And if we're getting into Burning Godzilla, whose regeneration is now hyperactive due to his meltdown, he would then be hitting him with the red spiral death rays that are enhanced by his nuclear meltdown. That could damage Voltron severely. Still, I would probably still give that edge to Voltron. He can fly. He's got multiple different elemental weapons. He can enhance it with his sword or enhance his sword with them. I'd still go that route. Now, the Millennium series Godzilla is a lot smaller. He's around 180 to 190. He's actually around classic Voltron era height. But Millennium's, first off, it's arguable how consistent the Millennium series really is in terms of, is it the same Godzilla? But if we're looking at every one of those Godzillas and treating them more, except for KMG, where he is literally the embodiment of like the souls of the Japanese soldiers who died. And if we're assuming that you can merge all those feats together, this is a Godzilla who can survive a meteor straight to the face, a black hole straight to the face, and being shot with an absolute zero cannon point blank. Sorry, Voltron has a lot of great feats, and maybe Godzilla's overall raw power output isn't as good. But if we're going by sheer durability, he's got the better durability feats, straight up. And because when he got hit by that meteor, or was it a meteor, or was that, no, I think it was Monster X coming, right? And that was Kaiser Ghidorah, ultimately. It just crashed down, and you just see Godzilla just standing, it's like, best you got. That's going to be, and this is a Godzilla that can actually move faster when he wants to compared to other Godzillas. He actually can kind of do the whole boxing thing a bit. So that's going to be a lot more interesting of a fight. I'd still say, because raw durability there, I actually have to go with Godzilla. A power output is debatable at that point. I think, though, you might now be able to lean towards Godzilla on the power output side of things. That would still be a drawn-out knuckle brawl fight, but I actually go with Godzilla on that one. Okay, so real quick, there's Shin Godzilla, who size-wise is kind of irrelevant, just because he is by far and large, I think, the slowest Godzilla there, even by original Godzilla standards and Godzilla minus one standards. He is the slowest Godzilla by far. But what makes him so deadly is his adaptability. He can adapt to just about anything so long as he survives. The question is, can Voltron put him down in one hit? Because if Voltron's not putting him down in one hit, that fight's going to go south very quickly for Voltron, who now is going to be hit with these nuclear lasers that seriously, like, it just constant. His heat breath is one of the most devastating we've seen in the Godzilla's franchise. And there's no doubt in my mind that thing hit Voltron. You'd be lucky to not lose one of the robots on there, assuming that it can detach in time. It's very possible you might even kill it. So it's, they'd have to recognize the level of threat he possesses and literally send him into space and throw him into the sun. That's what they'd have to do. And theoretically, Voltron can do this with a lot of the Godzillas that are smaller than him, but not the Godzillas that are of equal size or larger. Still, I feel like that would be the go-to way to deal with that particular Godzilla. And even if he does survive, there's no way he can adapt to space. There's no way he's ultimately coming back from that unless he adapts to even being in the sun. In which case, with constant evolution, that could be horrible. So I'm going to lean towards Voltron on that, but there are caveats for that one. Then I'm going to go quickly to Godzilla minus one. Even with its regeneration, unfortunately, it's one of those things where, as powerful as he is, and he is powerful, and he's got one of the more devastating nuclear blasts we've ever seen, I'd still lean towards Voltron. He's just way larger than him. And again, if he needs to, boom, into the sun. There you go. So unfortunately, right now, we are standing at a Some of the Godzillas so far can put up a good fight, but can't beat them. However, this is where the tide turns in favor of Godzilla. Because if you're going with Godzilla Earth anime trilogy, first off, he is nearly 1,000 feet tall, 984 feet calced. He is literally almost three times larger than Voltron. So that little scale I was doing here where it's like, oh, this is about half the size. No, Voltron is right here. Godzilla has a built-in nuclear shield. He literally stopped Ghidorah. I mean, granted, Ghidorah had to be weakened, but he literally just blew back and destroyed singularities that Ghidorah was coming out of. I do not realistically see a Voltron taking out a Godzilla Earth. I got to give that one Godzilla Earth. By the way, I would also just factor in Comic Godzilla probably should win as well, because he kind of has all the feats of all the other Godzillas added with BS comic feats, like fighting Zeus, going to hell, and so forth. But then that leads us to our last two. Now, I'm going to get the last one, obvious one, out of the way right now. Ultima beats him no problem. Like, there's no way Voltron has a way around Ultima when he has literally a causality manipulation. It's like, oh, you hurt me. I just choose that not to happen. There's no way around that. So we're at 4-4, which gives us our tiebreaker now. And that is Monsterverse Godzilla. One of my favorite Godzillas. Just from a design standpoint, he's just one of my preferred Godzillas. And by the way, there are other versions of Godzilla we can look to, but like games and stuff, but I don't know enough about those to give a really informed decision. Okay, so in terms of size, the Monsterverse version of Godzilla is actually much larger. Not much, like super larger than Voltron, but he is larger than Voltron. He also weighs about 99,000 tons. So he is exceptionally large, which I believe if you do the rough math on that, means if you just add 3 more zeros, that puts that at 198 million pounds. As strong as Voltron is, he's not lifting that. Which actually is just more impressive when you can see monsters in the verse actually kind of throw him around, because they're also huge size. But, okay, this is going to come down straight to durability and power feats for Godzilla if he can win. And luckily, because thanks to the DC Universe, we do have some BS feats to go over with him fighting individuals like Superman. He took a punch, a held back punch, but took a punch from Superman. And because of the radiation in his body, it acted similar to kryptonite, which is why Superman got floored by that. But more than anything else, but how much you can really count that is up for debate. What's not up for debate is everything we've seen in the movies. Now, we know he is planet level. He literally, but in terms of can he destroy the planet on his own? That's a tough one. Because he burst the hole right through into the Hollow Earth without any difficulty. And still had energy to spare and fight Kong and win. And then at least fight for a while Mechagodzilla, even though Mechagodzilla clearly had the overall edge. But it was because Godzilla was gassed. That's what it was. So there's that. And then he changed the weather with his atomic breath in his evolved form after Shimu basically created the ice storm. And even though Shimu is the one who put Ghidorah into the ice, Godzilla actually really didn't have that big of a hard of a time with Shimu, apart from dealing with occasional ice shenanigans, even though Shimu is actually twice Godzilla's size. Durability-wise, we know he can tank nukes. He's tanked nukes before multiple times. It's theorized that he also blew up a meteor. But the question of, was it him who blew up the meteor or another one of his species? Mind you, Godzilla is kind of described as kind of being the apex even of his species. Mind you, he is the last of his kind as far as we know. Oh, he can take damage, man. He can take damage. And if for some reason he goes into Burning Godzilla, well, now he's got the complete radiation package, and he's just going into nuclear meltdown and just doing it in waves of radiation, atomic bursts, all that. But is that enough to take down Ultron, who can go into planet to star level? I'd say Voltron probably has the greater attack potency. But durability-wise, I mean, they might be roughly comparable to each other. We haven't. The problem is they do keep this Godzilla 1 foot at least in a grounded reality to some degree, and when you do that, it does limit the fantastical durability feats you can have, as well as attack potency. I'd say it would be a closer fight than you might think, but as much as I love the big G, I got to go with the big V. So I'm going to go with Voltron on this. I think with maneuverability, multiple people able to strategize in there, and multiple other forms of attack, and having attack potency that's at least planetary to low star level, I think he'd be able to overwhelm Godzilla. I don't think it would be easy, but I think he'd be able to overwhelm him. But you know, this is just my opinion. Let me know what you think. I'll take Voltron, but it could. I feel like it could also. There's an argument to be made about if some of these versions could do better than what I'm kind of dishing out there. Like I said, though, I think he clears easily the Showa era. I think he clears the Heisei era without too much difficulty. I think he does clear Shin Godzilla -1 little no difficulty. Shin, if they're smart enough to realize don't attack him, he'll clear it. But you know, that is the catch on Shin, right? Because if they attack him and he doesn't die, he's coming back and it's not going to be good for them. So that one's a bit of an up in the air one, but I would still lean towards Voltron. But on the flip side, I think he struggles but would win with the Heisei version. But he does not beat the Millennium version, in my opinion. He does not beat Ultima at all. He does not beat the comic version of Godzilla, and he does not beat Godzilla Earth. Again, even though it's one of my favorite versions of Godzilla, I would still say Voltron probably would beat him. But this is just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Put it in the comments below. Let me know. Until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.